Hi everyone and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the very popular bento cake with 8 cupcakes all decorated on the same theme. This is excellent if you are a beginner baker. Obviously here you can see I'm doing it on a Christmas theme, but this could easily be done with lovely florals on any colour of your choice. As always, everything you need to know step by step and straight to the point. Let's make a start. Taking a box that can hold 12 cupcakes, we need to customise this. I place on a 6-inch round cake tin. I draw a circle around this and use this as a guide in order to cut out a square. This is where the bento cake will actually sit. Using a sharp Stanley knife, be very careful with this, simply cut around the square and you want to remove that excess piece of cardboard in the centre. Once you have done this, simply place it back into the cupcake box and get all the other slots ready for the 8 cupcakes that are going to go alongside your lovely cake. My cupcake box is 7 centimetres deep, so I plan on having a 5 centimetre tall cake. 1 centimetre of that is filling, so each layer of cake is only 2 centimetres. Start by adding a slice of cake with a small amount of buttercream to a cake board. I then create a well along the outside. Now, because I'm wanting 1 centimetre's worth of filling, I'm going to be adding an awful lot of jam. You can add less filling and have a deeper cake if you choose to. Once I've done this, simply add jam to the centre. This prevents the jam from actually leaking out of the cake. Once you have filled it with jam, simply go over the top with some more buttercream. I use a piping bag for this because it makes it easier and less messy. Smooth it out with a knife and then we will be applying our final layer of cake before giving it a full crumb coat. Just a little tip for you, if you do add an awful lot of filling, it can sometimes be best to refrigerate. This will prevent bulging. You can see me here then add a layer of buttercream to the outside of the cake and the top of the cake. You may need to refrigerate in between. It's just so we get this lovely smooth finish ready to decorate. Cutting squares of tissue paper to match the theme of your cupcakes. I actually want to add the bento cake directly to the cupcake box before I start to decorate. Because we are just working with buttercream, this will help prevent damage to the cake. This is a chilled cake and I simply place it directly in the box with ease. You can use any lettering set you choose to. I'm using a small lettering set by Sweet Stamp. You simply push these into your fondant and then I pulled each letter away with some tweezers. You then place this directly on top of your bento cake. Make sure it's central. And to paint this, it's really simple. All you will need is some dipping solution. This will evaporate really fast. I'm using a lovely silver by Faye Carl. It's a completely edible luster dust, but it has a beautiful finish and a very fine brush. I simply then painted each embossed letter. I've done the majority off camera, but just to give you an idea of how easy this effect is to achieve. I'm now going to start with the piping tips. So you will need a Wilton 2D, a 30 and an 18 piping tip. This is going to be for the cupcake and the cake Christmas wreaths. Here you can see I'm starting with the Wilton 2D piping tip. And I have covered the outside with a lighter shade of green. This will just give that lovely two-toned effect. And then simply fill the centre with a darker shade. Starting with the Wilton 2D, simply go around the outside of the bento cake. You want to be gently squeezing the piping bag and as you let go, pull away. We're then going to move on to the tip number 30. You see all those small gaps just on the outside. You want to repeat this motion. This is a slightly smaller tip to the 2D. but it's larger than tip number 18. So this wants to be used all around the edges so that you can't see any of the white buttercream. Finally, moving on to tip number 18, we're going to fill in those gaps just on the inside. And it really is as simple and as easy as that. We're now going to move on to the cupcake wreaths. Cut the end of a disposable piping bag filled with white buttercream. Take your cupcake and simply go around the outside and into the centre. I want to add some edible sparkle to these, so we need to do this first. Using some granulated sugar, take your cupcake and simply swirl this just inside the sugar, and you will end up with this beautiful, edible, sparkly cupcake. Now simply repeat what you did with the bento cake. So start with your Wilton 2D piping tip, and you want to be decorating 4 of these in total. I found that filling half a bag of buttercream is just enough for each colour. I then moved on to my Wilton number 30 piping tip, just to go around the outside. And finally, the Wilton number 18 piping tip. I then refrigerated these before adding them to the box. I'm now going to show you how to make the other cupcakes with the ruffles and the roses. The piping tips needed for the roses are the Wilton 2D. I then have a Wilton 103. This makes beautiful ruffles. And finally, the Wilton 199. This just adds the finishing touch. So, to pipe the rose using the Wilton 2D, start where you want the centre of the rose to be and gently go around in a circular motion. Now I have slowed this down so that you can see exactly what I am doing. You then, once you come to the end, just simply flick away. The ruffle piping tip is a teardrop shape. You want the wider end touching the cupcake whilst the thin end faces the top, and simply do a gentle left to right motion along the outer edge of the cupcake. These are very simple to achieve, and I do have my buttercream recipe on my channel. Finally, using the Wilton 199 nozzle, I then simply pipe the sections that have no buttercream on them with white. I would then suggest that you refrigerate your cupcakes before adding them to the box in order to prevent accidental damage. So this is what my Christmas cupcake bento box is currently looking like. I'm going to choose to add a few sprinkles, but as you can see, it looks beautiful just how it is. So I then go around the main bento cake first. This is done on camera, and I also add a few to the cupcake wreaths. And finally, if you do have a mould where you can create a fondant bow, this will just add the perfect finishing touch. But don't worry if you don't have one, because personally, I think it looks stunning the way it is. I really do hope I've helped you all again today. Thank you all for your amazing support, and I will be back soon with an awful lot more new, completely free content.